On January 6, 2021, an angry mass of protesters who were supporters of former President Donald Trump stormed and attacked the United States Capitol, believing that the 2020 United States presidential election was stolen from them and the president. The 2021 U.S. Capitol riot resulted in significant damage to the Capitol building and led to the deaths of 5 people, including a U.S. Capitol policeman. However, many may not be aware of a little-known event that happened on the Capitol just 23 years prior. On July 28, 1998, Russell Eugene Weston Jr., a disturbed loner with mental health issues, shot into a crowd of visitors, killing 2 U.S. Capitol police officers, Jacob Joseph Chestnut, 58, and Detective John Michael Gibson, age 42. The exact cause of the attack is unknown, but it is believed that Weston had strong anti-government views and suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. The 1998 attack was the first attack on the U.S. Capitol since 1954, when a shooting perpetrated by Puerto Rican nationalists damaged the building. This is the story of the 1998 U.S. Capitol shooting. The Capitol complex was constructed sometime in the 1790s by enslaved Americans. In 1800, the Senate wing of the building was completed, and in 1811, the House of Representatives side. During the War of 1812, the new Capitol was gutted by fire during the British invasion during the war. It was rebuilt in 1815, and the iconic Capitol Dome was constructed in 1850, right before the American Civil War. The building was completed just after the war in 1866. Both segments of the building contain the bicameral legislature of the United States government, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. The crowning achievement is its iconic Capitol Dome that reaches 300 feet in the air and is topped off with a statue called the Statue of Freedom. For the next 200 years, the U.S. Capitol building will be a symbol for American politics and government for people around the world. Due to its symbol of American prestige and law power, the United States Capitol building has often been a target. In 1954, a group of Puerto Rican nationalists attacked the Capitol in a shootout. The group had perpetrated the attack in the name of Puerto Rican independence. No one was killed in the attack. On November 7, 1983, a bomb placed by a far-left militant group called the Resistance Conspiracy detonated in the Senate portion of the Capitol. The blast caused extensive damage to the area, but no one was injured or killed. The bombing was in response to an American military intervention in the countries of Lebanon and Grenada. On July 28, 1998, the day started as normal. The Capitol building is one of the most visited places in the D.C. area, particularly in the summertime. Visitors often marvel over the Capitol Rotunda and its oculus. The Capitol complex is guarded by the United States Capitol Police, or USCP, who are responsible for the protection of the Capitol grounds and the people inside, including lawmakers, staff, and visitors. By mid-afternoon, the visitor traffic had reached its peak. In the crowd was a man named Russell Eugene Weston Jr. Weston entered a room called the Document Door, which is only open to members of Congress and their staff. Weston was hiding a .38 6-shoot revolver in his clothing when he passed through a metal detector and set off the alarm. Capitol Police Officer Jacob Chestnut, who was given instructions to a tourist, confronted Weston and told him to go back through the detector. Weston then pulled out the revolver without warning and shot Officer Chestnut in the back of the head at point-blank range. Another officer, Douglas McMillan, was nearby and tried to stop Weston. Instead, Weston shot back and wounded McMillan. Given the amount of civilians in the building, it was difficult to neutralize Weston. Weston then made his way to several offices used by Texas Republican politician Tom DeLay and Representative Dennis Hastert. A plainclothes officer named John Gibson apprehended Weston and there was a shootout. Gibson was mortally wounded, but was able to shoot and incapacitate Weston, who was then arrested. Both Officer Chestnut and Gibson died of their injuries. One tourist, Angela Dickerson, was wounded in the shooting but was later released. Officer Jacob Joseph Chestnut joined the United States Capitol Police after being in the United States Air Force. He was a master sergeant and served as an Air Force policeman. He also served during the Vietnam War. Officer Chestnut was buried in Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. Detective Joe Michael Gibson was a Capitol Police officer who was assigned to protecting dignitaries such as Congressman Tom DeLay. Gibson leaves behind 3 children and is also buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Gibson was an avid fan of the Boston Red Sox, and Officer Chestnut was the first African American to lie in state at the Capitol. Russell Eugene Weston Jr. was born in December of 1956 in the town of Valmeyer, Illinois. The town was tiny and only had a population of 900 when Weston went to school. At some point, Weston moved to Montana to be alone and removed from society. He was known to be a loner, a recluse, and an eccentric, and he angrily rejected an invitation to a high school reunion given to him by a classmate. He soon began to develop paranoid fantasies such as neighbors using satellite dishes to spy on him and that U.S. Navy SEALs were watching him from a cornfield near his home. 18 months prior to the shooting, Weston moved back to Valmeyer. He then killed 14 cats with a shotgun he owned and held some in a bucket while burying the rest. He also had a compulsion to hack at trees with an axe. In 1996, Weston visited the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, and stated to officials that he had important documents to share with them. It is believed that he was able to gain access into the building without any credentials whatsoever, but this incident was never fully explained. After the 1998 shooting, Weston was sentenced to a life imprisonment stint at the mental hospital at the Butner Federal Correction Institution in Butner, North Carolina. He has refused to take any of his medication for his condition voluntarily, so doctors have had to force him to take it. Weston stated that he had committed the crime to defend the United States from diseases and cannibals.